I'm a firm believer that a well done pair of eyebrows really does shape a whole entire makeup look. So if you want to know how I get my eyebrows laid, ready for a full face, then grab a monster, grab a snack, because it's makeup time. First things first, I'm going to go in with my Made by Mitchell Brow Sludge Box. This, gorgeous. The formula, gorgeous. The way it blends, gorgeous. The fact I leave it out with no lid on, not gorgeous. I'm going to go in with this shade here, Tiramisu, and my Morphe BB212 brush. And I'm just going to extend the ends a little bit, fill it in, and I'll see you in just a second. I'm literally just taking this brush. I'm just going to extend it out just a little bit. I like the end of my brow to be thin, snatched, not too arched, kind of just pull me straight. But obviously still a little bit of arch because I don't want to look crazy boots. And then just very lightly tracing out where I want the front of the brow to be. I've got like the basic outline of one brow on, and I've just got to try and replicate that on the other side. Pray for me. Thankfully, they're sisters, not twins. There we go. I've got the basic shape for both eyebrows down. They're not even too uneven today. Hey, shout out to me. Now going in with shade Theodore in the painted eyeshadow palette, I'm just going to go in and just darken the tails a little bit with eyeshadow. This, gorge, dark, black, amazing. This, one vital mistake I always see you people making as well when concealing your eyebrows. Use the same shade on the bottom and the top. That is not gonna work. You need lighter on the bottom, darker on the top. That way that blends up and this pops. That's all you want. So going in under my brows to give a brightness and a pop, I'm going in with a Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer in shade 1.5 Yogurt Drops. I'm going to apply that straight to the back of my hand like so. Amazing. Please have clean hands when you do this. Nobody wants to be picking up bacteria off their hands and putting it near their eyes. Near their eyes? Do you have a death wish? And then going in with an ME9 brush by Made by Mitchell, I'm just going to pick up that concealer on the back of my brush. And I'm going to make sure it's evenly distributed through the brush because I don't want chunks of concealer under my brows. Trust your intuition. If you hesitate on and ah over your brows, they're going to look a mess. You know how sharks can smell blood in water? Eyebrows can smell fear when you're doing them. 2016 makeup trumps everything. I think that's why I still go for like quite a harsh, bold brow. You won't see me messing with eyebrow gel. I can't afford it. And I'm not going to set this because if I do use eyeshadow, I want the liquid base to help the eyeshadow stick. I don't want it to be trying to stick on top of a powdered eyelid. And plus, this is all the powder I have left. So we got to hope that lasts me a whole face. And then for on top of the brow, I'm going in with the NARS Creamy Radiant Concealer. I like to start at the tail because it's the hardest bit for me, so I just would like to get it out of the way. If you're like me and you hold your breath when you do your brows, please do it in sections. You can't be passing out, okay? Now that I've got my eyebrows on, if I was going for a colourful makeup look, I would definitely be doing my eyes next so I don't get fallout all over my base. But I think I just want something chill and casual, like a soft brown with a little pink lid on my eyes today. So I'm next going to go in and do my base. Do you want to see how I get my base to go from looking crusty, busted and gross to this? Then you best watch what I'm about to tell you. And this might be a slightly long tutorial, so grab yourself a monster, grab yourself a snack, and tag along. I'll see you in just a sec. First things first, going in with my Glam primer, my gripping primer. I'm just going to take a couple pumps of that, rub it in, and really press that into the face. Now that my primer is set and sticky, it's time to do the base. Going in first, I'm going to use some Made by Mitchell Build foundation in shade LB5. Giving that a shake. Don't clip me, don't clip me. We're going to take that and we're going to slap that straight all over our face. As you can see, I'm not applying any foundation to my under eyes because the more product you have, the more likely you are to crease. And look at my under eyes, I crease already. Now that I have a light amount of foundation on, just using my MF1 brush by Made by Mitchell, I'm just going to slowly and surely stipple that in so it's all nice and blended. And when you're blending out your foundation, look how pale my face looks and look how red my ears are. Cover your ears, don't be silly. And make sure to blend it down your neck, otherwise you're going to look like a floating head. So I'm just going to go over it with a little bit of the Ultra Cover Concealer by Collection in shade 5C, Fair Cool. Picking up what I put on my hand with the same brush. And just slowly, I'm going to blend that all over everywhere. If you think this is an excessive amount of makeup, now could be a perfect time for you to click off or scroll past. But if you think this isn't even half as much as we need, keep on watching because you're my kind of girl. And then before that foundation fully sets onto my face, I'm just going to go in with a damp beauty blender. And I'm just going to make sure that everything is blended seamlessly. And then before we conceal, I'm going to go in with my Glam Sun... Bitch, what? Before we conceal, I'm going to go in with the glam Sun Sculpt Liquid Contour in shade Soft Tan. And rather than apply this straight to my face, I'm going to apply this first to the back of my hand. I'm going to go in with the MF4. Make sure all my bristles are coated evenly. And take that to the hollows of my cheeks. And as you can tell on the back of my hand, this is more grey than it is bronze. And that's because it's to create shadow and depth more than it is to create warmth and like a sun-kissed glow. Once I blended with my brush, I do once again go back in with a beauty blender and I just lightly tap over it just to make sure everything is smooth and seamless. And then for nose contour, I'm going in with a BB203 brush by Beauty Bay. I'm going in with that exact same shade that I use for my cheeks, tapping off any excess off of the brush so there's just an even layer. Starting on my brow, I'm just going to start here and slowly feather that down into the shape that I want. And I'm just going to stop like halfway down my nose. The whole point is to reconstruct, not work with. So I'm just going to follow this and connect it straight up into the brow. I'm just going to go underneath the nose. For bronzer, I'm going to be using my Made by Mitchell Curve case. So I'm going to go in with a mix of Cream Carve and Shady Business. I'm just going to take some on my finger. I'm going to apply it here. Mix this one in. And with the same brush that I contoured with, I'm going to pick that up and place that just above where I'd initially contoured. And before I blend that out with a beauty blender, I'm just going to go in with the Colour Bloom Liquid Blush by Glam in shade Real Deal. Shake it up. We're going to apply that straight onto the back of our hands. And then with the same brush that I used for the contour and the bronzer, we're just going to dip straight into that. Evenly coating all of my brush hairs. And then just taking that just above where I've just placed my bronzer and taking a tiny bit of that and just tapping it right on that nose bridge. And now we're going to go in with that beauty blender and we're just going to lightly tap over everything just to make sure everything blends together gorgeously and seamlessly. And now it's the time we've all been waiting for, concealer, because these under eyes are looking crazy. And for my under eyes, I'm going to go in with a mix of two concealers. I'm going to go in with shade Light 2 Vanilla in the NARS Radiant Creaming Concealer. Radiant Creaming Concealer? Am I okay? Radiant Creamy Concealer, then the Huda Beauty Faux Filter in shade 1.5 Yoga Drops. Taking my NARS, I'm just gonna make sure I got plenty of product. I'm just gonna apply this here. It's gonna make sure that's placed under my eye and bringing that eye outwards. And then for brightening, because what's an under eye if not bright, I'm gonna go in with the Huda. Place that just inside of the NARS. I'm just going to brighten the centre of my forehead, and the centre of my nose, around my upper lip, centre of the chin, and underneath my cheeks. Just to kind of lift and snatch everything. And for once, we're going to blend with the beauty blender. Starting with everything but the under eyes. I want the under eyes to sit for a little bit longer and get a little bit more coverage. But you kind of want to blend things where they are so that they brighten exactly where you put them. And while the under eyes set, I'm just going to sit and chill and sip some Monster and listen to some music, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes. This concealer is setting a little bit. Going back in with the beauty blender, I'm going to slowly start to blend out my under eyes, bringing it down the side of my nose to snatch that contour a little bit further, bringing it straight up and out along the edge of my eye, lifting and snatching my face. And you might notice when you do, oh my god, it's in my hair. What was I saying? Oh, okay. No. Extra blush, extra blush. And then taking a tiny bit more blush, we're just gonna pop that straight over where we just blended the concealer, just to make sure everything is flawless. Now we've got all the creams, all the liquids, everything out of the way. It's time to try and make this much powder. Taking my Morphe BB105 brush, I'm just going to pick up a small amount of powder and look up and place that straight on my under eyes. And now that my whole face is set, you can see that most of the creams that I've put on have been muted down a little bit, which is perfect because it maps out exactly where you want to follow with your powders. And then going in for powder contour and bronzer, I'm just going to take a mix of Cloud Carve and Be The Light, which is these two shades here, and start slowly building up that shadow again. And before you think this is how I look, just perfect and flawless. So if I come up close, you can see, look, I have texture, I have fine lines in my forehead that are there when I don't have makeup on. So of course, with makeup on, they're still going to be there. But makeup is not Flawless makeup will always look like makeup, okay? And then from the same palette, I'm going to go in with a mix of shade Little by Little and Candy Quartz. I like to place first by tapping and then blend after. And I bring this down into the contour because we want everything to look what? My favourite word, seamless! I'm just going to use this one here. I like to keep my nose a little bit more muted than my cheeks. Up into the brow, because you want everything to be what? Seamless! And then just bring it under the nose. And now that my nose is gorge and pinched, I'm going to go in with this Collection bronzer. And I'm just going to really like warm up the perimeters of my face. So I'm just going to take that same bronzer. I'm just going to tuck that straight under. Ooh, I look fierce. If you've not already watched part 1 where I teach you how to get this flawless gorgeous base, then you best go back and watch it. If you have and you're back for part 2 on your own accord, or the For You page bought you bag, it's your lucky day. Grab a monster, grab a snack, and I'm going to show you how I achieve my everyday eye look with a pink eyelid, a little bit of glitter, and I'll let you in on a little secret at the end, my lip combo. So, sit down, get ready, and join me for the ride. For this eyeshadow look, I'm just going to be using either 1, maybe potentially 2 eyeshadow palettes. That's it. But everyone should have these colours. It's literally going to be browns and a little bit of pink. Starting off, I'm going to go in with a BB201 brush by Beauty Bay and this shade right here, Cookie Dough. And I take that, tap off any excess, and from the outer corner, straight to where my nose contour joins my eyebrow. And I'm just going to smoke that all the way out. It's such a light shade, so it's just going to give me a little wash of colour and a slight lift. And with this being one of the lightest shades we're going to put on our eyes, it does not have to be clean, it doesn't have to be precise, it can just genuinely go out and back in. And we're starting off with this colour so that everything blends together what? Seamlessly. And then going in with a slightly smaller fluffy brush, the BB203 and the shade Oak, tap off any excess. And then follow pretty much the same shape but a little bit closer to my eye. And we're just going to be slowly building up colour to give ourselves a snatch and make sure everything is what? Seamless. There you go, honey, got it right this time, didn't ya? And then you'll never guess what we're doing next. Same fluffy brush this time, the BB203, and 1 shade deeper. This is Treehouse. You don't want to put too much of this shade because it is a lot of the oak. You're just going to look down and you're just going to tuck that right at the bottom of those colours that you've been initially blending. 50% on it and 50% below it. You just want to smoothly, circular motions, or side to side, whatever you feel best, hon. And I'm just going to tap that right into the outer corner. And then going back in with the BB201, which is the initial brush I started with, I'm just going to slowly buff all of that together and make it, you already know, seamless. And if you're a minimal makeup girly, then this is a perfect place to stop. I, however, if you watch part 1, know that I slap makeup on like it's no one's business. Because it isn't. Going with the darker shade, which is right here, Lava Cake. Tapping off that excess. And I'm going to apply that just to the outer V this time. A little goes a long way with the dark eyeshadow, and you can always add more, but it's so hard to take off. And then once you've got that applied, you're going back in with the BB201. And now that I'm happy with how this blender's looking, I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye off camera, and I'll be right back to show you how I'm going to do my lid. Now that both eyes are looking pretty much similar, I'm going to take a very, very small brush. This is the ME12, and I'm going to take some of the deepest shade that I applied, tap off my excess. I'm just going to connect that to my lower lash line so everything looks what? Seamless, gorgeous, you're learning. Now that that's done, it's time for what you're all here for, the lid. And for the lid, I'm going to go in with this shade right here, Warrior, one of the prettiest pink shades I've ever used in my whole life. I'm going to pack this shade onto my brush, I'm going to look down into my mirror, and I'm just going to pack it straight on to my eyelid. And now that that's on, it's kind of difficult to blend pink into brown without a little bit of a deeper shade to transition them together. And because it's kind of hard to blend a pink into a brown with no transition in the middle, I'm going to go with the shade Vintage with a mix of the shade Gampy, just slightly mixing the two together, tapping off my excess, and I'm going to just pop that on the outer edge of that pink. For a final touch, I'm going to go in with the shade Diva in the Painted Artistry palette, and I'm just going to tap that onto my inner corner. Going in with the BB201 with the shade Warrior on it, just a little bit. I'm just going to slightly blend these two together, and now I'm going to bring this all out. And it doesn't have to be the cleanest because we're applying glitter over the top of it anyway. And And then back with the BB203, which I initially used to place Treehouse, which is this deeper shade. I'm going to tap into that very lightly. And just slowly bring back some of that depth from the brown. And when I'm happy with it, which I am already, I'm going to go in straight with my finger. I'm going to go in with shade Cloud 9, which is this gorgeous shimmery pink. I'm just going to tap that onto my lid. Look at that, that is so stunning. And then just to bring my inner corner together, I'm going in with shade Vinegar, which is the shimmer here. I'm just going to apply that straight to my inner corner. And if you want to take it that one step further, which 9 times out of 10 I do, I'm going to take a flat eyebrow brush. This is the BB212, which is exactly the one I use for my brows. And I'm going to take shade Theodore, and I'm going to look down, flick a little line straight out, and then bring it straight back in. Now I'm going to open my eyes, look straight on, and connect that to the centre of my eyelid. I tend to just do a tiny little inner corner, which I do by taking my brush, holding it at like a slight angle, and I'll just stamp and then I connect it straight into my lower lash line. And now that inner corner is applied, it's also contributed to the same lift that I've been talking about this whole entire time. And final step for the eyes is just to give the lashes a little curl. I like to keep my mascara in my pocket the whole time I'm doing my makeup, so that by the time it comes to applying it, it's nice and warm. And then once you've curled them, just go straight in. And now that my mascara is all applied, I'm going to take you onto my super secret lip tutorial. Once again, using the Period Eyeshadow palette. The first shade I'm going to be using is this shade right here, Treehouse. And I'm just going to be using that to line my lips. I'm just overlining the top of my lip, and then connecting it to my actual corner of my lip, and then following it around and redefining that Cupid's bow. Using that same brush, I'm just going to slowly buff that inwards towards the centre of my lip. And then once you're happy with how that looks, guess what? We're just going to take a slight mix of both Vintage and Warrior, tap off any excess, and we're going to apply that to the centre of our lip. Once you've got that colour all on there, it's finally time for the gloss. And I'm going in with the Made by Mitchell Beam Gloss in shade On the Dance Floor. I'm just going to take that. And now the lip's all complete, you now know my secrets, and I'll be back once I've done my finishing touches. Wow. And now the finishing touches are all done. Popped on a little bit of highlighter down the centre of my nose, my brow bone, and I guess I'm ready to go out and say his airway. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, hon.